The Sea Ice for Walrus Outlook, or SIWO, is a resource for Alaska Native subsistence hunters, coastal communities, and others interested in sea ice and walruses. SIWO provides weekly reports during the spring sea ice season, with information on weather and sea ice conditions relevant to walruses in the southern Chukchi Sea and northern Bering Sea regions of Alaska.
SIWO is outstanding because it brings together indigenous observers and experts in ice and environmental conditions, including walrus, from a range of different communities in the Bering Straits area, brings these people together with the National Weather Service, the staff and scientists who are working with the Weather Service to provide sea ice and weather information, forecasts, outlooks, marine advisories, as well as bringing together with university scientists who are exploring ways to collect information about the ice and the environment using new techniques, in particular new satellite remote sensing or ice prediction techniques. That's a very unique aspect of SIWO, and the way this has been put into place, in my mind, is exemplary because all of these people have the same standing in the project, they talk to one another as equals, and there's good lines of communication between the folks in the communities and their indigenous knowledge, their daily time spent out and among sea ice with walrus, as well as the people who are working at the agency and research end.
Our observers from the communities provide a wealth of information through their pictures, their reports of the environment around them. Our observers see the thickness of the ice condition, where in science can't provide that for us, but we have really good natural observers in these communities providing a resource that often was overlooked over the years, but are becoming part of what we call co-production of knowledge.
And this weekly outlook happens from March through June during the spring sea ice season. Varies a little bit every year with sea ice. So I communicate directly with the National Weather Service forecasters, and they will produce sea ice imagery and weather forecasts specific to SIWO communities in the Bering Strait region. And then we currently have observers in 7 Bering Strait communities, and that is Wales, Shishmaref, Diomede, Savunga, Gamble, Brevig Mission, and Nome. So we bring together scientific information and indigenous knowledge and observations into one web page.
Most of the communities that participate in SIWO over the past years, they all have an extensive record of collaborating with scientists. There's a memory of previous cohort of observers who worked at the beginning of the SIWO, and I know of that personally, that people found it to be a great honor to be working in the footsteps of those, observers of the past.
They put the science mechanism into the hands of a local hunter. As an observer, I think I give a small little picture of what it is in Wales, how the sea ice is forming, the availability, and maybe some of the predictability of a successful hunt. It gives the opportunity for the hunter to project better, be able to make a decision whether it's safe to go out or not.
During those spring months is one of the most critical times for our hunters to be, aware of the environment and forecasting and sea ice conditions. Historically, I would say that you had kind of more predictable and kind of stable hunts. With the lack of sea ice and climate issues that we're having is really making it so much more variable for our springtime hunts. So this type of program is really important because it's during those months where we have hunters that are going out and risking their lives to feed our communities. That happens all year, but it's really elevated during those spring months. So I really value this program for that purpose.
You need good sea ice for butchering safely. Oftentimes you harvest a large animal like walrus or bowhead. You really need good, strong platform for butchering purposes. And now with sea ice receding, We see more and more hunters harvesting animals in water and or butchering, which makes a safety concern.
We feel like we have the kind of the big picture from satellite imagery, and then the observers have the detail view from their location. So to be able to put those two things together, I think has been a really strong part of SIWO over the years.
SIWO lasted much longer than we ever anticipated. And we are now 14, 15 years later, still doing that kind of program. That's a remarkable success.
The greatest strength for the program is to, look at the ice conditions, especially for hunters and observers. Also, if I'm hunting, because I'm an observer, I will post videos also of the ice and walrus.
The team of observers that make up SIWO, amazing folks, amazing team. I see SIWO as being a human network kind of thing that has taken a lot of time to develop in relations and to stand up.
And now 15 years later, the program is still going, and that is really due to sustained funding from the National Science Foundation. We've been really fortunate to have that longevity of the program, because it also means a longevity of relationships. So the reason Sea Ice for Walrus Outlook has been successful is because of our relationships with observers in these Bering Strait communities who keep coming back year after year, sharing their knowledge, sharing their information and photographs, and having great folks at the Weather Service, University of Alaska Fairbanks, AUS, like all of these partners.
What keeps me coming back to SIWO is that I want to help the hunter, the provider, because I believe it's very important as a crew member in a boat to make sure everybody's safe, and that's what SIWO does, is provide a safety mechanism to at least have the hunter to project where, how, and when the ice is around.
But it would be nice to see more and more of our young people involved in this kind of work, because myself, I'm not getting any younger. We do need leadership. I think the observers we have really represent their communities very well in this project. So it would be nice to see more and more of our young people involved in this work.
So my very strong, very personal wish that this remarkable program keeps going for the sake of observers, people in the area, hunters, anyone, everyone. SIWO has certain unique features that no other effort of this kind covers.
We're going to start expanding the satellite imagery that we've been providing and putting some more details onto those graphics so that we can share some of what we're seeing, specifically like what details we're seeing in that imagery that we can share with the communities. One of our main jobs within the Alaska Sea Ice program is to connect with communities and find out what information they need to be able to live their subsistence lifestyle the way that they best need to and want to. And so this is a very direct way that we can actually support that lifestyle. And so that keeps me coming back every year.
As Sea Ice for Walrus Outlook adapts to a changing Bering Sea, to changing technology, the observers and the community members are really driving those changes. And they're the ones that are directing where this program goes, because ultimately Sea Ice for Walrus Outlook is to serve these communities, to make sure that they have the best possible information for safe travel in the Bering Sea.
Well, it's a really a good example of co-production of knowledge. We're also sharing our indigenous knowledge as part of this work, because as Eskimo Walrus Commission, we're always advocating for our indigenous knowledge holders to be part of any kind of project or activity that would impact our community. So it's a two-way conversation.
A long-term program has a remarkable force of generating knowledge, of attracting attention, of providing results to the communities. So to me, the longer SIWO lasts, the better it becomes, the more unique it becomes. I would say it's probably now the longest, I won't say ever, but definitely the longest running program of indigenous observations, even if small, even if for a few communities only, and even if for a short period of time. But it's the longest one, and that's its remarkable power and attraction.